Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for August 7th, 2025. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The commissioners who are present for tonight's meeting are at City Hall and on Zoom. We also have staff from the city attorneys and the city clerk's office, as well as the city planning department. If you're joining us on Zoom this evening, we can see that you are here. However, and you may observe the meeting, however, your ability to be seen on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, you will be unmuted and then be able to comment. Please note that we cannot take questions until the public testimony portion of the meeting. If you have a process question during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will reply as quickly as possible. If you simply want to watch the meeting, we encourage you to watch this streaming on the city's YouTube channel. You can access it at meridiancity.org/live. With that, we will begin with roll call. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Garrett,
Here.
Commissioner Stoll,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Here.
Madam Person Lorcher.
Here. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. There are no changes in tonight's agenda. Please note that item number 2, Cap Ed at 10 Mile, and item number 3, 10 Mile Flex Space, have both requested a continuance. So if there's anybody here to testify on these applications, we will not be taking public testimony this evening. Could I get a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and a second to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we are going to approve the minutes of the July 17th Planning and Zoning meeting. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I would briefly like to explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with a staff report. Staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and our unified development code. After staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case and respond to staff's comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant has finished, we will open the floor to public testimony. Each person will be called only once during public testimony. The clerk will call out the names individually of those who have signed up on our website in advance to testify. You may come to the microphones and chambers, or you'll be unmuted on Zoom. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. If you've previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting, it will be displayed on the screen, and our clerk will run the presentation. If you have established you are speaking on behalf of a larger group like an HOA, where others from that group will allow you to speak on their behalf, you will have up to 10 minutes. After all those have signed up in advance who have spoken, we invite any others who would like to participate. If you wish to speak on a topic, you may come forward in chambers, or if on Zoom, you may press the raise hand button. And if you're listening on a telephone, you may press *9 and wait for your name to be called. If you're listening on multiple devices, such as a computer and a telephone, please make sure to mute those extra devices so we don't experience feedback and we can hear you clearly. When you are finished, if the commission does not have questions for you, you will return to your seat in chambers or be muted on Zoom and no longer have the ability to speak. And please remember, we will not call on you a second time. After all testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant has finished responding to the questions and concerns, we will close the public hearing, and the commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss and hopefully make final decisions or recommended to City Council as needed. So we have 2 items that are going to be continued, and we're going to call on each one of them individually so that we can get a future date. So item number 2 on the agenda is H 2025-0026 for Cap Ed at 10 Mile. They have requested a continuance. Madam Clerk, do we have a date in mind for this application?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have August 21st.
May I get a motion to continue the application for Cap Ed at 10 Mile for August
moved.
21st? It's been moved and second to continue Cap Ed at 10 Mile on August 21st. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is also a continuance for 10 Mile Flex. Madam Clerk, do we have a suggested date for that application?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The same date for that one, August 21st.
August 21st. May I get a motion to continue 10 Mile Flex for August 21st?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and second to continue 10 Mile Flex for August 21st. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now to the good stuff. We actually have an application. Item number 4 on the agenda is H 2025-0016 for a rezone preliminary plat and a DA modification for the Farrington Heights subdivision at Pine and Atkins. And we will begin with the staff report. Nick?
Sorry about that. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. The next item on the agenda is the rezone preliminary plat and development agreement modification for Farrington Heights. And I did want to, before I start my presentation, I did want to, on the record, make a clarification in the site posting. And on the site that was posted at, the sign that was posted at the site said medium density residential, which is correct. That is the flume designation. However, the R15 zoning district is the medium high density designation.
So noted.
So the applicant is requesting a rezone from R4 to R15 zoning district, a preliminary plat consisting of 30 building lots and 7 common lots on 4.68 acres of land, and a development agreement modification to replace the current development agreement with a new one. The site is generally located at the northwest corner of Pine Avenue and Atkins Avenue. As shown on the screen, the existing zoning is R4 and the flume designation is medium density residential. There's the rezone exhibit. The subject properties were annexed in 2000 as part of the Farrington Opal application. The zoning granted at the time of annexation was the R4 zoning district. With the annexation approval, the properties were subject to a development agreement that restricted the property to adding 1 additional home on the 4.68 acres. The existing DA will be replaced with a new DA to update the concept plan and provisions for the improvements relevant to the current proposal. The proposed subdivision is a gross density of 5.77 units per acre. The proposed use and density are consistent with the medium density residential flume designation of 3 to 8 units per acre. The surrounding landscape consists of single-family detached homes to the north, east, and west, while the south is Pine Avenue. The average density for a 1-mile radius is 6.1 units per acre, which is higher than the 5.77 units per acre the applicant is proposing. Single-family detached dwellings are listed as a principally permitted use in the R15 zoning district per the UDC, and the applicant is proposing to keep the 3 existing homes on the property in addition to this. The applicant is proposing to complete the subdivision in a single phase. However, due to the size of lots 20, 21, 22, and 23, staff recommends the southern portion of the site retain the R4 zoning district, as this is the more appropriate for the existing lot sizes. And if commission recommends this to council, the applicant shall submit a revised legal description and exhibit for the rezone prior to the city council hearing. Staff discussed providing a 1-to-1 transition with the applicant to provide a better transition to the existing homes, and the applicant ultimately lost 3 building lots as a result, but the transition remained the same on the north portion of the site. In addition, staff encouraged the applicant to converse with the neighbors early on in the process, and after their neighborhood meeting, the applicant indicated the neighbors had minimal concerns. With the knowledge of this, staff is supportive of the infill development, but still has concerns with the lack of regional parks in the area for residents to access and use. The proposed development of 4.68 acres falls below the threshold and is therefore not subject to open space and amenity requirements outlined in the UDC, as 5 acres is the threshold. However, staff has engaged in multiple discussions with the applicant regarding the value of including open space and amenities, especially given the absence of a regional park in the surrounding area. While not required by code, staff is concerned about the lack of recreational space and amenities for future residents. Therefore, staff is recommending one amenity in the form of a picnic area be included in Lot 19, Block 1. And then access to the property is proposed from North Atkins Avenue, a local roadway on the eastern portion of the site. This local road is shared between the proposed subdivision and the existing subdivision to the east and north. The applicant is proposing 2 access points off of North Atkins Avenue with a common drive accessing 3 properties on the southern portion and a common drive on the northern portion accessing 3 more properties. The proposed design includes variations of 2-story homes, each featuring a 2-car garage. The elevations showcase a range of architectural styles, designs, elements, including lap siding, neutral color accents, brick and stone veneer, varied roof profiles, and different home styles. Review confirms that these elevations adhere to the city's architectural standards and comply with the required design criteria. Staff is recommending approval with the conditions and a new development agreement. And we have received written testimony from Don Flatten with concerns about building heights, privacy, and transitions to the existing single-family homes. And I will stand for questions at this time.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening. My name is Jessica Hagee with Studio H Architects, 1335 North Main Street, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. I believe, Nick, are you going to? Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nick. I don't have a whole bunch to add to what Nick just presented, but just a couple items just on the open space for one. Yes, our property is underneath the 5 acres, so we don't have necessarily dedicated open space per City of Meridian requirements per the zoning code. However, we do have landscaped areas and open space, as in the fact that there won't be building areas. So on the exhibit that Nick is showing now on the right-hand side is our colored landscape plan. In the center of the subdivision, buffering between what Nick is asking for R4 and then the R15 northern portion, we have a landscaped buffer area. There is drainage area in that, and as well as fully landscaped. In addition to that, we have a very large landscape buffer down along Pine. So although we do not have a dedicated open space area, we do have areas that are heavily landscaped and open without buildings. I don't think we have issues with the request for a picnic area on lot 19.
Which one's lot 19?
Nick, is it the east side?
Madam Chair, so yes, staff was open. This is technically lot 19. It's a smaller lot. Staff is open to a different location for it if the applicant's amenable to that. We just put it in a location that we thought would provide a little bit more space.
I don't think we'd have issues with any of those. We do have drainage in 19 and 18. Sorry, I can't read the numbers. I believe the 18, the lot just to the west of 19. However, we don't have any drainage in the green area north of the east parcel. So that would be an opportunity. We could add a small picnic area and not conflict with any of the drainage area. And then on the next slide, just wanted to reiterate the architectural look that we are proposing for the subdivision. There's a couple builders that are lined up for this build out. And so, like Nick said, lots of material, they meet City of Meridian requirements. And all in all, these are nice homes, single family homes, detached. That is all I have to add. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
What's the average square footage of the houses that you're proposing for this area?
We're not the builder, so I can't exactly say, but I would assume they'd be 2,000, 2,500 square feet roundabout with a 2-car garage and a full driveway.
And everybody has a small backyard.
Yes.
And I think one of the comments that were made, would the builders be amenable to possibly doing some single family homes where it abuts up to the backyard of another home in another subdivision.
Can you explain what you mean?
So if you go back to the slide behind it, Nick. The properties to the west, those backyards back up to other people's backyards, is that correct?
That's correct.
So the written testimony came in wondering if single-story homes, maybe I said it wrong, would be an option for when it's a 1-to-1 ratio.
I don't think the size of the lots would be conducive to a single family home. There just wouldn't be enough square footage for them to be able to sell them, just from the price of land in the city. I think they're gonna need to get 2 stories of square footage to make a home even pencil. It's gonna be, if you did a single story home on these, not only would they be forced to push the single story all the way to the back setback, which would only be, which would be really, really close to the backyards of these properties, you would end up with just mostly a garage and a shotgun style house. So it really wouldn't be a high-end type of finish if we were restricted to a single story home.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant at this time? Nope. All right, thank you very, oh,
I was saying, go ahead.
oh, okay.
There you go.
Commissioner
Madam Chair,
Stowe.
So can you explain to me the outreach process that you went through with the neighborhood?
Yeah, we did our neighborhood meeting with, standard neighborhood meeting. We sent our notices. I think we had probably 15-ish neighbors come around. The questions were really about traffic on Adkins. We did explain to them that we are widening Adkins and we're improving it per ACHD requirements. So there's going to be additional asphalt, there's going to be full curb gutter and sidewalks. That was a plus. Obviously, traffic is always a concern when you bring in additional people. They did bring a concern of adding some sort of traffic mitigation, which I did indicate that we would have to discuss with ACHD, whether or not that would be just some way to slow traffic down, not necessarily based from the subdivision, but it's a current issue that they have with people speeding down Adkins towards Pine. So that was one issue. The additional issue is just nobody wants development. Nobody wants it in their backyard. They just don't want to see the land developed. So that was the major one, and it's pretty consistent with all the projects that we work on.
As you heard, the chair asked the question about whether you can go with a single level place. And I understand that doesn't pencil out. Are there other treatments that you can recommend to try to mitigate the transition from R4 to R15?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different ones. First would be grading, making sure that the grading is similar. There's been some subdivisions in the Meridian area where the grading is substantial and one neighbor is higher than the other one, and so it gives a very easy direct view into the backyard. These ones won't have that necessarily, so that would be one area. And then, of course, landscaping is always the big one to help with privacy. We foresee these homes having covered patios. They're gonna have kids. These are single-family homes. So I think it's going to be on both sides. Everyone wants their own privacy in their backyards.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to testify?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first person is Stephanie John. She has a picture that I will share as well.
Hi, if you can just state your name and address for the record, that would be great.
Sure, Stephanie John at 1111 North Adkins Avenue. Can I? Am I up?
Yep, go right
Okay.
ahead. Thank you.
So I'm at the north end of the subdivision, which this is my property, and they're trying to put five houses backing up to it. We're the ones with the concerns about the privacy and the single or the double house dwellings. 5 backyards looking into it. If you look, that's my driveway and my front door facing the field. And I know that's hard to overcome on developer's end, but that's my existing house. That's where we park. That's where my kids come in and out of the front door. There'd be everyone looking down on them. In the back, there's a detached garage further back that sits right on the property line. We would have no reprieve. We'd have no privacy, nowhere for my kids. I have 3 daughters. Where do I send them to play basketball without somebody staring down at them? I'm very concerned about that. I'm so concerned about the traffic. They're showing it coming off Vadkins. Well, I take them to school going down Pine. Pine is already a disaster. I'm turning right, going down to Barbara Morgan, and we have dispatch center there and police cars coming out. We have Ada County paramedics coming in and out, which they need to get to people. Across from us is commercial, and they have trucks backing in and out. So I'm concerned about that. The intersection at Pine and Locust Grove is a disaster. Trying to get in and out of there is not easy. I'm very concerned about that. The same with if they go through the subdivision at Shellbrook and Pine. That's something needs to happen there. There's a lot of traffic. I'm also very worried about the diminished value of my property. I mean, we have a lot there, but where our house sits and how they want to come in, it really leaves us nowhere to go. We can't move our house back on the lot. It just is what it is. We're an existing house, and so we kind of just have to work with it. I'm worried that the fire trucks, the public services won't have enough time or access to these areas, including our homes on these. Another fire, we have one across from us. Is that enough? I'm also worried about the grade. Are they sure they can grade it enough that people can't look down on me? 5 different homes is a lot to look down on us. I'm also worried about the light. That's the south wall for me. And so that sunlight comes in directly. It helps with heating. That's all my main living areas. That's my living room, my kitchen, my formal dining room. All of those face that field. And so having houses back right up to us is a big problem. Zoning and planning commissions, they serve the people that they are here for. You guys have a chance and to guarantee light, air, and privacy for all of us, not just me as an existing resident, but for the residents that you're going to be building for. I ask you to keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, the next person is Bob Flayton.
Hello, all of you. First off, I would like to say thank you very much for giving me time out of your day. I would second off like to apologize that I'm not better prepared because this is incredibly important to me. But I
If you
basically
could
work
state your name and address for the record.
1111 North Adkins Lane. I've lived in that house basically since I was 5. My name is Bob Flayton, and this is our home. This has been for many years, since before really anyone in this room has actually been there. I've been walking down to what was the old existing home to meet with Opal Farrington. She used to always give me candy. Long story made short, this is a place we have been for a long time, and I had hoped would be a safe environment for my children, my 3 daughters. I have a lot of concerns about this. Not 3 minutes is definitely not going to serve me right with all of this, but I guess my main ones for them would be security and equality. I look at the houses that are there right now. Yes, they're single family dwellings, but if you stand in my driveway, you will literally see one and only one 2-story house, and from all angles. This is not equal. That means all the people that come in now have a way to look down. With all due respect, that very much diminishes our security, our way of life, every bit of the usability of our property. We don't have places, we won't have a place for the garden now. There's a lot of different things that are going to be affected by this that I don't think need to be as a result of the density. I understand that people have a right to move. It's very literally my job. I'm a mover. I welcome them every day from all over the country. But I see issues with density in places that I move. I see people fighting and bickering over the silliest of things because they're too close, because people don't want to go out and rub elbows. They just want to be able to go in their yard, maybe a little casual wave to a neighbor that they get along with. But they don't want to be fighting with speeders out in front of their house, which they actually did touch on that. That is an enormous problem. I've called ACHD a couple times. They ran the little strips out there to check speed. They admitted it. The police have been out there and checked, wrote many tickets. It's already a problem. It's certainly not going to get better with more people. I also don't believe crime is gonna go down. I think our property values will. I think that's a pretty big issue. I think we have a right to hopefully be able to somewhat protect that. The applicant, or whatever we refer to them, you stated that she said there were no concerns. Well, there were many concerns. I was there, and with respect to her and everybody else, I feel very much like David and Goliath here. I don't feel like I have a chance. I don't feel like my family has a chance. I think the money wins. And I'm trying to understand and just navigate this as reasonably as possible, considering where we are in this process. Again, I wish that I could just touch on a lot of things, but I guess really the last thing, and it's kind of off kilter, but I think with Thomas Jefferson, the first time he was trying to write the Declaration of Independence, he spoke of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness being inalienable rights. Every one of those is being attacked at our home. Yet that maybe people don't feel it that come there, but we don't get to have our lives the way. I don't have the liberty to let my daughters roam free in our driveway anymore for fear of people looking down on them, somebody stealing them, a random dog running up and attacking them, all things that happen in higher density places. And I don't feel like our happiness is protected as a result of all of these things. Again, I know we're just trying to survive like everybody else, but I'm all for people being able to have homes, but I don't feel that this is right for that area. I feel it's right for some people in certain areas, but I don't think this is the right mashup for us. And I haven't met one resident that feels differently. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone else to testify?
Yes, Madam Chair, the next person is Karen Blanton. Sorry.
Hi, if you can state your name and address for the record, that would be great.
Madam Chair, it's Karen Blanton, 1418 East South Speed Streets, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. So I live on a street north of the development, the proposed development. The only reason why I was able to come to the meeting that they had outside on the property was because my neighbor across the street got the notice because of living within 500 feet. So the people in that community area, I'm in Danbury Fair, I wasn't given a notice about the development at all. I'm really in agreement with the people that have testified so far. My concern really is extensively for the children of that block. The home that I live in right now, it was broken into last night with just the kind of development that we have there, normal situation with people coming in from out of state. I grew up in Chicago. I know what high density does. To go ahead and have dwellings that are big enough to house children with no real space for them to be playing actively. They go roaming around the community, and if they find an open gate, an open door, an open window, something that seems available or vulnerable, they have a tendency to think that they can accommodate themselves to take whatever they want or do whatever they want to do. I'm very much in agreement. I watched the children playing down Atkins, and it's like a Norman Rockwell kind of community that's going to change tremendously. The lives of people are going to be so impacted. I love their home that they're talking about. It's the most beautiful, pristine. It reminds me of why I came out west from Chicago, and now we're going to be bringing in developments that's going to make it more like Chicago. So with my home being broken into, with just the amount of people that we have there, adding this many more houses with that many more cars. Also, I'm elderly, and my neighbor that came with me is elderly. Trying to get out onto Locust Grove is a nightmare. People don't want to merge. When you're coming into Danbury Fair, if you're going north, the people across the street from Locust Grove going into that development have to meet at the exact same Meridian in order to get their developments. There's no lights or anything to help that traffic. So we travel down Atkins to get out on Pine so we can get the light. And I almost had an accident with somebody today. There's not enough space to be turning in and out just with the amount of traffic that we have. To add something that's going to have that many more two-car garages with the residents maybe owning two cars and then their family or friends coming to visit, it's not only going to change the environment and the value of the property and the feel of why people wanted to move there, but it's going to be putting a lot of people at risk and a lot of children at risk. So I hope you take that into consideration to keep the density as it is and not increase it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next person is Dave Barnes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a Brian Turner.
My name is Brian Turner, and I live at 1345 East Shellbrook Drive, just west of the first two speakers.
Okay.
I would like to state up front that I welcome the development of this land, but it's being considered for the Farrington Heights. But I do have one strong disagreement that's already been touched on, and that is to have the two-story homes. If you look at this land, it is naturally elevated, so they'd have to grade significantly to make it even reasonable. It's out of place with existing homes, and it would take away the privacy of all of our backyards. A wonderful example of my disagreement is the Avaberry development that is off the Pine, just north or just south of Danbury subdivision. These two-story homes look completely out of place with the Danbury homes. And on the west end, that home, it just looms over the backyards. It's like arm's length from the backyard or the fence. And I've lived in Danbury since 2001, and I haven't talked to anyone that is happy with the Avaberry subdivision. And this is going to be larger and just as built similarly as it's been explained. I know there's options for single level homes. The first example is the Locust Grove Place duplexes that are on the east side of Danbury off of Locust Grove Road. They're single level and blend in well with Danbury subdivision. And also a second example, very recent, is the Fire Prairie subdivision that is north of Ustick off of Locust Grove, directly behind Fire Station number 3. They're all single level home. So saying that it's not cost effective, I don't believe that. And those homes look really nice, and I would be happy with a home like that in my backyard. To whoever has the power, the decision to whether or not to build two-story homes, the seller, the architect, developer, the city, I frankly don't know because I don't know the process. Whoever it is, please, please, please do not build two-story homes due to greed and lack of foresight. Two-story homes will anger all the neighbors for decades to come and will look completely out of place on this plot of land. Thank you.
Thank you for testifying.
Madam Chair, the next person is Marley Turner.
Hello, my name is Marilee Turner. I reside at 1345 East Shellbrook Drive, Meridian, Idaho 83642. I also reside west of the first two speakers, and while I am not opposed to the development of the land being considered for the Farrington Heights subdivision, I am more than minimally opposed to the rezoning of the 4.68 acres of land from the R4 to the R15 zoning district. By rezoning the land, the developers will be enabled to build approximately 30 buildings, a much, much denser development than all its bordering sides in all directions. Not only will the development be denser, but the buildings will be 2 stories, while all the homes surrounding the development, with the exception of one, will be 2 stories. While our neighborhood isn't upscale, our homes have existed for nearly 30 years, and we very much value our way of life. A development such as this will impact families adversely for decades. I implore you not to build as closely and as densely as legally allowed. Please allow for landscape buffers on all sides of the development, which may mean putting the access road around the perimeter and planning for green spaces bordering the road. 32-story homes looming over our backyards will negatively impact our ability to enjoy our yards and spend time in our yards. And I echo the concern about lighting. That is a huge concern. I plead for you to consider single-story homes on this property. It is doubtful that anyone would welcome the proposed scenario as an adjacent subdivision to your own property, and we would very much appreciate respect for our way of life also. Secondly, I'm concerned that the development will bring on average about 50 to 60 more vehicles coming and going at least twice daily in and out of our neighborhood. Also, it will increase delivery traffic as well. The street bordering the planned development is Adkins, and Adkins is so narrow it might be considered a one-way street. The intersection at Pine and Adkins is already dangerous, as has been spoken. And the only other convenient intersection that drivers might use to exit or enter the proposed subdivision is located at Locust Grove and Shellbrook. That intersection, due to the completed development directly across the street and upcoming planned development, is extremely dangerous and will become even more precarious. Due to the development of the Avebury neighborhood, I believe a very mini turn lane was added to the Pine and Stonehenge intersection. However, this entrance will not be convenient for any of the residents, and it is very dangerous. Beginning at Locust Grove, Pine, as you are aware, is only a one-lane road, and Pine is extremely busy. At nearly any
You can finish.
Okay. At nearly any time of the day, both morning, midday, and evening, these intersections make exiting and entering our neighborhood very difficult. I can't imagine what a denser development will bring. I hope that anyone with decision-making powers will be wise and look with foresight into the future. Please.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next person is Jack Harp.
Okay. Mr. Harp, if you can say your address for the record, that would be great.
Jack Harp, 1038 North Atkins,
Thank you.
here in Meridian.
Okay.
This little lady that just talked to you hit the nail on the head. My concern is, after living there for 23 years now, seen a lot come and go. The infrastructure alone would be a project. It'd be an awful big project, not just the houses, but like she said, the road, the intersections, et cetera. I don't think Ada County Highway District's gonna do that. But yeah, two-story homes, that close together will be like those ones they just built over here on Pine. What, 15 feet apart, 2 stories high? No. If you're gonna build something there, at least 1 story, and not so gosh darn many. The going rate for rent now, it'll take 3 or 4 people just to rent one of those. And that brings an awful lot of people in such a small area. So yeah, I can see someone making some money, which is what this is all about. But there again, that infrastructure alone. It'd just be like Pine is when you get down here to Main Street. Nice wide street, boom, you're in a bottleneck. And it's already getting bad around Locust Grove and Pine. All the wrecks, it's just not a good idea to do that. Ideally would be a senior, well, not so much senior citizen, but like what they got behind St. Luke's. Single story, probably older people, but you build this, the young ones will come and they have no idea what blood, sweat, and tears are to own a home. So they're, all heck will break loose. Might take a year or two, but it'll come. Thank you.
Thank you for testifying.
Huh?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, no one else has signed up.
If you'd like to come up in chambers.
My
name's Rick Saladay. I'm at 992 North Stonehenge Way. My property backs right up to the existing development.
Okay,
I can tell you, I'm one of the first ones in that end of the subdivision. The road was not even all the way through on Stonehenge when I moved there 33 years ago. I also knew the owners of the original property out there. She came to me and said she lived on a hill. That explains the elevation issue. I had to look for a long time where this hill was, what she was talking about, before it was explained to me. It was right behind me. So there is about a 3-4 foot elevation from my house to that field. So to build a 2-story is ungodly. It's going to put it way too high. You want to grade that down 2, 3, 4 feet? Fine. I would suggest basements. Once you spend that extra money you're going to be making on all these houses, dig down and put a basement. There's your 2-story house. And we could put a levelness. Traffic. God help you on Atkins, because I live on Stonehenge. This Avebury, 2-story houses they built, they didn't grade down, they built up. This is what I would expect these guys to do too. They'll go in there, they'll tear out the topsoil, they'll put in their foundations, which is gonna raise it up. Tear out all that good soil, and they'll bring back in gravel and crap and pour it back in there. Atkins Lane, you're gonna see tons of traffic. That little Avebury subdivision, I didn't even know the name of the subdivision they put in the 2-story places. Most of them are renters. They don't own those places. Those places went over 250,000, almost 300,000 or more. How much are you guys gonna make? On 35 houses. Let's not be a money grab. Let's be reasonable. Let's think about what you're putting in there. And I see what's moving here. I welcome people coming to this state. There's a lot of people from this state left in the 80s and the 90s. And they're coming back. They're coming back from California and everywhere else. But they're bringing all that shit and toys with them. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. But I've got one that just moved into the subdivision, right in the cul-de-sac. He's got every toy imaginable. Up and down the street on his motorcycle. Up and down the street in this big old loud diesel truck. These Avebury people ripping through on their motorcycles and their little go-karts or little zoom cars and their loud music. God help me, I never thought I'd ever say that. I'm a kid from the 70s and the 80s. I blasted my music. Here I am. But my music did not rattle the windows. Anyhow, that's what I got to say about this subdivision. I welcome the subdivision. I knew it was going to come. I've been there 33 years. I knew Kirk. I spoke to Kirk. He owned the property right behind me. When they were building that big white house, they came and asked me, how far back should we go? I said, oh, go back this way. Go towards Pine, please. And they did. Now, I know I have no choice. I know it's going to be developed, but let's be reasonable, folks. Let's put in less houses, think about your elevation, and that's all I got to say.
thank you for testifying. Anybody else in chambers that'd like to speak? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Madam Chair, no one is on Zoom.
Would the applicant like to come forward and address some of the concerns of the neighbors?
Thank you. Do you need my name again?
No.
Thank you very much. Well, I am a resident of Meridian, resident of Ada County, so I fully understand and I'm a native of Meridian. So I've seen the growth and I completely understand the neighbors' concerns. I do want to address a couple of things. There are 30 building lots in this property. However, there are 3 existing homes and some of these parcels are larger. So we're stereotyping the whole subdivision as if it's a development that is, I believe, a quarter of a mile to the west, and it is not the same. So that's not entirely fair nor accurate. Another issue that I have is labeling the new residents as vagrants and thieves. That's not fair. We're looking at these homes being in the high 500s, 600,000s, and they are for sale. They are not rental homes. Granted, someone could buy them and rent them out, and we can't control that, but that is not the intent of the development. We're looking to convert 3 existing homes and their parcels and create homes that are starter homes. And that is what a starter home is in Meridian, Idaho, is a $500,000 house. And so those are going to bring in the younger demographics, those with kids that do take care of their homes. They have their kids in their backyards or in the subdivision, teaching them how to ride their bike. These aren't vagrants. These aren't people that are living and going to steal your kids and your bicycles. These are just hardworking people that want to have a home and they want to live in this amazing city, in particular, right outside of downtown Meridian, which is growing and vibrant, and we want these people in downtown Meridian. My office is down here. It's got so much room for growth. There's so many areas that are very dilapidated. They're old and they're coming up, and we've got infill properties right by us, and they're duplexes, they're single family homes, they're 5 feet from the property line, and it is what it is, and the people have moved in and they're great. They have a single family home, they have a brand new house, and their kids are out back playing in the yard. Our office is next door. It's Old Town. You know, we're a mix of uses. This isn't Old Town, but it's right next door. So I think the use is appropriate, and we want to see a mix of density, residential, commercial in these areas, and watch this area develop and grow into an amazing downtown, which it can be. I know there's traffic issues, and I do feel for the residents. I don't think it's entirely applicable to our development. We're only talking about a few new homes. However, I think it definitely needs to be something addressed between City of Meridian Police and ACHD. And we obviously are going to do everything that ACHD requires of us, none of which is anything at the intersection of Adkins and Pine. However, it was talked about with Adkins being very narrow. However, Adkins, with our improvements of the additional asphalt, will be the full width required by ACHD, and it is the full width that they are going to require in the future. So unfortunately, that is where it is at. And then I guess the last item I wanted to talk about is the elevation change. So that is obviously something that will be addressed as we're moving forward in the process. Our civil engineer unfortunately is not here tonight, but he is working through those items, and I do not see it as an issue in the future.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant?
No.
All right, thank you very much.
Actually.
Oh, okay,
You jumped on.
sorry. I looked over, you didn't acknowledge.
I gotta grab it.
Okay,
Anyway,
Commissioner Stoll, what you would like to ask the applicant?
so there's discussion about grading, existing property, lower it down. You don't have your engineer here to answer this question. But one of the concerns I have is if you grade it, what's going on with the surface water, the drainage?
So one of the major items that I know as an architect, not necessarily as a civil engineer, is we can't drain onto other people's properties. So no matter what, we are going to have to address the grading change between the properties, and we have to keep all stormwater on our own property. So there won't be a grade change down to their property. We will keep all of the stormwater on site. So that will be addressed kind of as we're moving forward.
Did that answer your question? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I get a motion to close the public hearing? Oh, wait, Jared and Matt, did you have any questions for the applicant? I'm sorry, before you left.
Madam Chair, I do.
Oh, can you come back up again, Jessica? Sorry, I forgot about our Zoomers. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so in historic applications, we've seen some line of sight visuals provided as far as what that height difference is going to look like. Did you guys have any of those prepared or available that we can look at and interpret?
No, we have not. That's really not been discussed at this point. It would be something we can definitely look at. It's going to vary obviously greatly. The houses are various distances from the property lines, whether to the west or to the north. So like I said, we haven't looked at it specifically, but the houses are pretty far back. We don't see any issues with lighting, all that stuff. There's no views to be taken. It's already got houses all the way around it. The houses aren't going to be huge. I mean, we're talking 20 feet total to the peak, standard. So we're not putting some 3-story townhome next to all these homes. It's not going to be as intrusive as I think the neighbors are fearing.
Okay, I think the average 2-story house is closer to 28 feet to the peak. But yeah, typically we just seen some kind of average, right? It could be from whatever the medium setback is to the height of that 2nd-story window into the backyards of the adjacent properties. So you do not have that prepared. Is that accurate?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Madam
Commissioner
Chair,
Commissioner Smith?
I did have one question, and I'm still trying to figure out where I'm at on this um, northern abutting property. Um, I'm just curious, and I don't know how to phrase this. But I'm I kind of get it. Five homes abutting to one is a lot. Like, I know there's no way to fully get around it. There's going to be a couple or a few homes there. I'm just curious if there's been any discussion on ways to limit uh I know this infill. There's not going to be a way to do any one-to-one transition space, but has there been any discussion on ways that could possibly be limited in terms of transition space down from 5?
Our strategy when we were looking at these was trying to keep the backyards to the backyards so that the houses between were as far away from each other as possible. That was our strategy to mitigate it, just from the nature of the shape of the land. And then having to have those southern parcels that are a little bit larger, and we have the existing homes to work around the northern subdivision portion, the smaller lots. The nature of the land kind of required that horseshoe shape, and that's what lended to how we're proposing it be subdivided. But like I said, we did try and get as many backyards to backyards, and I believe all of them are backyard to backyard, and then the remaining parcels in the center are just into each other, so they're only going to be looking at themselves.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this time I think it's for real. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second to close the public hearing for item number H 2025-0016, Farrington Heights. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm a little torn on this one. Everybody has a right to sell their property, and everybody has a right to buy their property. And when you're walking into an infill situation, it's always a square peg into a round hole. You've all been used to having open land around your properties for a very long time, but it's not yours. It belongs to someone else, and now it belongs to a developer. And, if that's where your kids were playing, that's great, but, technically it belongs to someone else. And they have a right to be able to develop and create it. We as a governing body look and see if it adheres to our future land use map, our development codes, our unified development codes, and all of those kind of structural things. The density in this area is consistent with what the applicant is suggesting. But also understanding that you need to take a look at the whole picture and not just the parcel that is involved, because it is infill. I'm not comfortable with the 2 stories. I'm comfortable with the density because it fits based on the current neighborhoods that surround it. But I agree that the 2 stories, especially on the west side and the north side to the single family home, would be cumbersome. City council ultimately makes the decision on this, so we'll have to see what they have to say. I appreciate the R4 on the southern portion of it. I know that the open space is not required, but I just don't think there is enough to create a buffer for the families that are east, west, and north of this. So at this point, I think I would probably say no.
I'm looking at this and the other infill projects we've had over the past couple of years. It's always a difficult situation trying to deal with infill. Now, in this case, I happen to be in support of this application.
because I go by this site almost daily. And I see the issues, and it is infill, and you've got to try and build what will sell in a market to provide that type of housing for those people who want to buy homes. And, you know, they not necessarily, do they want big yards or larger house or a larger situation, and this fits their needs. And so I'm in support of it, and I understand it's infill, and there are some current concerns with people who have lived there for a number of years. And this is obviously going to be a change of lifestyle for some. And, you know, for that, I'm sorry, but these are the things that happen with infill projects. And we've had a number of people who have come forward with concerns, but there's just no way to get around an infill situation.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I'm a little torn, but I think I tend to fall closer to Commissioner Garrett. You know, if if you could, you know, pull up and you flip the sides and flip the north and south of the properties, I think I'm probably it's probably the easiest yes I've seen. You know, I think I think there's some issues created by the desire to retain those existing homes as part of the plan, that forces some of the density north. And I understand then that's the developer's decision. I think that creates some issues, and I don't love everything about this, but I understand the reasoning. Um, I understand the desire to kind of keep some of the variance, and same thing with the 5-to-1 transition. While I don't love it, I understand the desire to keep the actual housing buildings away from each other as much as possible. I I think I'm inclined to support this. And what what the thing that I think is pushing me over the edge into support is kind of the wise words of our former chairman Andy Seal. Infill's always hard. And you know, if especially with an infill project like this, I think this is a naturally difficult plot of land to develop, and I can see possible ways that a future project could be so much worse. And I'm not to say that this project is bad, but I think that, you know, while we have some concerns with this project, I think there are ways that can come to mind that are compliant with code that a project would be have a lot more concerns for me. So and given the density that yeah, they would be afforded and things like that. And so I think I'm inclined to support this. I do have concerns. I do wish, you know, I don't love the 2-story, but I understand the desire to use 2-story to keep the houses away from the other backyards of the neighbors as much as possible. I get that. And I personally, you know, I personally live in a place where my house is 1-story, and I have multiple 2-story houses within, you know, 100 feet of me, or 100 yards of me. And it doesn't bother me. I understand there are people that it does bother, but I do think that this is a net good for the community.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Commissioner Stoll?
I'm also torn on how to vote on this particular project. There's aspects of it that I do like. There's aspects of it that I don't like. I would caution everyone on making generalizations regarding density, that it all fits within a particular box or not. Density does not necessarily equate to high crime and degradation of property values. In often cases, it increases, depending on the type of density that's put into place, they actually can increase your property values. Many of the problems that were discussed earlier regarding traffic, I drove Pine for 23 years. and down Locust Grove to Pine for 23 years. It has its problems. It has certainly changed. But the problems as far as the accidents that have occurred are design issues, and where the location of the property fences are to the northwest, and driving speed. And I say that based upon somebody that's been pulled over on that particular segment. But from a traffic standpoint, the capacity is there to absorb 33 units on Pine and on Locust Grove. In itself, it's not going to cause the issues. But I do have a problem with the transition from R4 to R15. It just doesn't, especially 2 stories, and then the surrounding homes are 1 story. It just doesn't fit within that community. With that said, though, if you look at the mile radius, the density is occurring. And I've heard from testimony that there's problems with some that have been approved. And it doesn't necessarily equate that this is going to mean that there's going to be problems at this location. Growth is a challenge for us all as our Idaho way of life is changing. And these particular properties that we've been used to for many years being open space, being developed and changing for us is frustrating. My own personal example, I remember when we bought our property and we were living there and none of the houses were built yet. My wife loved to send out her dog to run on the various properties. And then as the houses started building up, she was getting frustrated with it. It's like, what did you expect from development? It's gonna happen. So I'm still not sure how I'm gonna end up voting. I look forward to hearing, well, I guess that's it.
Well, we'll see if Commissioner Sandoval has any comments. Would you like to chime in on this? Or are you
Madam
good?
Chair?
Commissioner
Yeah,
Sandoval?
I'll chime in.
All right.
So I had a lot of reservations initially, and I still do have some, especially that there's those site maps and projections as far as line of sight and the screening provided. That's a big concern of mine, going from surrounding 1-story homes to 2-story. The biggest hangup I have on this, however, is the open space. And although it's not a requirement, it's just under the threshold of 5 acres. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? And having a picnic table right next to the road equally doesn't make sense. And I understand there's other issues with drainage swells and placement of that, but there's just not enough open space in this project. And while not a requirement, I think we really need to consider that. And when you look at the map and the surrounding areas, yeah, there may not be a lot of open space present in adjacent properties, but that's more of a reason why we should at least ask for it in this project. So all in all, with everything considered, especially with the open space, I would not be in favor of supporting this.
Okay, thank you very much. With that in mind, after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to recommend denial of file number H 2025-0016 as presented during the hearing of August 7th, 2025, for the following reasons. The lack of buffer between the surrounding subdivisions for a 1-to-1 basis based on 2-story. The density going from R4 to R15 not being a smooth transition. And I think I'm going to call it at that. So the transition and the buffering and of the 2-story. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure the procedural terms, but may I add on that motion to include the concerns with open space throughout the neighborhood?
Well, they're legally not required to have it, but you want me to put that part of the motion?
Well, I certainly think it should be a consideration, yes.
Okay, so the buffer between, okay, let me try it one more time. 1 second.
Madam Chair, as you're making your notes there, it might be helpful. I'm kind of reluctant to jump in, but I do want to make one observation in terms of, in relation to open space, for example, and what the city's code require or doesn't require. I just want to remind the commission, and I would say the same thing to the city council, but this is a property that's a little bit different in the sense that we have an existing development agreement and existing zoning, and they're asking for an amendment to a development agreement and a change to zoning that would change from the DA. So this is a situation where the city does have more flexibility because a development agreement essentially is a contract and both parties have to be amenable to amending the contract. And so this is not like a blank slate. We have an existing development agreement in place. And so I'll just offer that as some additional information for your consideration.
Okay, let me try this again. After considering all staff and applicant and public testimony, I move to deny file H 2025-0016 for the following reasons. The buffer between the existing house, which the applicant is proposing 2-story, to consider the position of the open space and the changing of zoning being too abrupt from R4 to R15.
Second.
It's been moved and second to deny file H 2025-0016. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those against?
Nay.
So we have a 3-2, so the motion passes. Thank you very much. That application is done, so you may stay if you'd like, or if you don't have anything else, you may go. We do have Kurt to discuss some bylaws for the Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. The City Council recently, earlier this calendar year, made some amendments to the Meridian City Code as it pertains to commissions and to committees. One of those changes now requires each commission and committee to adopt bylaws. Up to this point, the Planning and Zoning Commission has not adopted bylaws. So that's the topic before you today. I'll pause for a sec.
Thank you for coming. Can you go outside so we can finish our meeting? Thank you.
So that's the purpose of our discussion this evening, is that we now have an ordinance that requires the commission to adopt bylaws. To help to try to facilitate that, the city attorney's office sort of crafted some sort of a template that most commissions and committees could use, and then we've kind of modified that a bit to satisfy specific needs. The purpose of the bylaws really is to supplement what's in the code. So just as a reminder, in the Meridian City Code, there's already some detail in there in terms of the Planning and Zoning Commission, qualifications of commissioners, how you're appointed, how vacancies are filled, your duties, your purpose, all that. And when do you meet? All that is in the existing Meridian City Code. The purpose of the bylaws would be to supplement that information. And really, if you had an opportunity to scroll through the material, it's fairly kind of just some basic information to basically run your meeting efficiently and to provide some kind of rules and parameters. I'll just kind of summarize those very quickly. I know you've had them in your packet, and I won't go into I'm not going to read them and won't go into great detail, but essentially talks about that the commission will have officers, meaning the chair and vice chair, as you do today and you have for many years. It talks about the election of a chairperson and vice chair each year. That's been your practice and also in the Meridian City Code for some time. So that's not a deviation from what you've done historically. And then talks about when there are vacancies for the officers. That's not a vacancy of a commissioner. So when a commissioner vacancy occurs, the mayor makes an appointment subject to confirmation by the city council. This is referring to when one of your officer positions become vacant, a chair position or vice chair position. Article 3 talks about your meetings, how notices are provided. That's really just codifies what you do today and what staff does today relative to noticing for meetings, what constitutes a quorum. That essentially codifies what you do today and what a quorum, how a quorum is defined today. There's no deviation there from your historical practices. How meetings are conducted and how agendas are structured, again, follows very closely what you've done historically as well. Talks about when this is kind of a rare thing, but every now and again we'll have a request, or maybe there's a request on the part of the commissioner or the commission as a whole to have a special presentation, or someone wants to make a presentation to the committee, the commission. Last one I recall was maybe within the past 6 months or so, a member, I think, of our Arts Commission wanted to make a presentation. That would be an example. This basically says that's at the chair's discretion. You can set some rules and parameters for timing to run an efficient meeting. So really nothing really out of the normal from what you've done historically, although that's kind of a rare situation. It talks about minutes, which really, again, just codifies current practice where the clerk's office prepares minutes. They're provided to you timely. They're reviewed and approved by you as they are today. Talks about commissioners entitled to one vote and clarifies, as I've had this discussion with Commissioner Lorcher and others over time about whether the chair, I think there's some confusion sometimes about this, whether the chair can make a motion, whether the chair can vote. I think that confusion kind of stems from, in the case of the mayor and the city council, that's a little different situation where the mayor is not a member of the city council. The mayor is directly elected. The council is the city council. So the mayor chairs the meeting, but the mayor is not a member of the council and only casts a vote when there's a tie. That differs from the Planning and Zoning Commission, where you all are members of the commission, including Chairperson Lorcher, and you're entitled to vote and you're entitled to make motions and fully participate as any other commissioner would participate. That just simply codifies that and makes that more clear on a going forward basis. So really, there's nothing quite really earth-shaking here, but the idea we have to comply now with the revised Meridian City Code. I think this is pretty straightforward. If the commission is inclined to adopt the bylaws tonight or on a going forward basis, ultimately they're subject to city council review and approval before they become final. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the bylaws. If there are no questions or if you feel comfortable with them, my request would be that you I would ask for a motion and a vote to approve the bylaws. If you feel like you need some more time, there's no time sensitivity to it. If you want to think about it for a few weeks, or you have some questions, you want me to come back later, that's okay too. But if you think it makes sense, I would recommend that you act on them tonight and approve the bylaws. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners, has everybody had a chance to review the document, the bylaws? Can I get a
Madam
yes or
Chair?
no? Commissioner
No.
Sandoval? Commissioner Sandoval, you
I've-
have not had a chance to look at them?
I have not. Could we table this until the next scheduled meeting?
Commissioner Stoll, you said you did look at them?
I did look at them. I had one question.
Okay, hold on to that for a second. Commissioner Garrett, did you have a chance to review them? Yes. All right, and how about Commissioner Smith?
Yes, I have.
Commissioner Stoll, would you like to give your question?
Madam Chair, Kirk, I just like to say, number one, well-written. And the only question I had was, is it in city code somewhere about the annual, there's a reference to the annual meeting where we have the election of the chair and the vice chair. Is that in city code that the annual meeting will occur on this date or?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Stoll. My recollection, I might be able to find it if I take a moment. My recollection, it does talk about a reorganization at the beginning of the calendar year. I don't think it doesn't specify a particular date like January 1st, but it does talk about your first meeting in January, if my memory serves me correctly.
In the city code?
Yep.
Okay.
And let me, as you ponder whether you want to continue the item for a little bit, I'll see if I can see if I can confirm that real quick for you.
And with that, that's the only issue I had as far as that needs to be clarified or not. Otherwise, I'm fine with it.
I think I'd just add, just for clarity, is that we've had this situation before. So just because you reorganize and select a chair and vice chair each year, doesn't mean you have to make a change. You can have the same chair go for 2 years or 3 years or longer for that matter. Same for vice chair. So there's no requirement that you or any other commission or committee make a change. It's just that you sort of have to ask that question again each year and make a decision.
I don't remember doing that after the first of the year, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
It's a railroad.
I mean, I'm sure I said, yes, I'm in for another year, but, and I'm sure Jared said the same thing. So, but Jared, do you even remember that happening?
Not entirely, Madam Chair, but I think it might have been. I'm trying to remember when Andy left, and if that might have had something to do with the timing.
That's possible as well, because was it 2025 or 2024? I guess he left in the spring of 25. I don't know, but
Madam Chair, I'll say that, and I don't recall at the top of my head, if it's of interest to the commission, we can go back to the minutes and confirm or not. But I will say I did find the code section, so I'll just read that very quickly. So whether we did or not is a different story, but I will confirm that the code requires us to do so. So if we didn't, shame on us. But the current language basically says at the first meeting of each calendar year, each statutory commission, which includes planning and zoning, shall elect a chair and vice chair.
I will say that Commissioner Seal stepped down in 2024 because he knew he was moving. So I've been chair longer than just January of 25. That makes sense? So he was a commissioner and he left in the spring because he moved to Eagle, but he stepped down as commissioner last spring, last summer, last fall, something like that. So I've been, that was his choice, so. The only reason I'm hesitant to vote on it tonight is Commissioner Perot and Commissioner Rust are not here. And they have not indicated one way or another if they had any questions or concerns. And the fact that Commissioner Sandoval did not have a chance to review it. So I think when we meet for the next time to vote on it at the next meeting. And when Tina sends out the notes for the meeting to request that everybody be ready to vote on the bylaw minutes. And that way none of the commissioners feel like they're excluded. Does that make sense?
That's Madam Chair, that makes sense. And as I said, there's no particular time sensitivity, so that's perfectly fine to put on the agenda again in 2 weeks potentially for final action. That's perfectly fine.
Yes. So when we send out the applications for the August 21st meeting, Tina, if you can add an extra line saying that we will be voting on the bylaws and that if they're not in attendance, they either choose to defer their vote because they're not in attendance, or if they have any other questions that maybe they can email you directly. Is that fair?
Madam Chair, that'd be fine if any of the commissioners, including those in attendance tonight, have questions, individual, I'm happy to answer any questions that may come up in the interim. Sure, that sounds fine.
And Commissioner Sandoval, you can find the document at the bottom of the agenda that was sent to you in your email. It's at the bottom. It has a hyperlink that you can look at them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I must have missed it.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden at the bottom. Okay, thank you very much. Before we adjourn, or ask for the one more motion, for the next meeting, Jared will be chairing. I will be a commissioner online. I can't make it in person, but it's too complicated to chair when I'm not physically in the building. So Commissioner Smith, you're good to take care of this bylaw portion of it, correct?
Madam Chair, yes.
And then for the August 4th, 5th meeting, the first meeting in August, I most likely also September. Gosh, I did that twice. Okay, the first meeting in September, I will also most likely not be here. I haven't finalized my plan, but that's a travel day for me. But I will know by the next meeting for sure. And Jared will manage that one as well. With that in mind, can I get one more motion, please?
Move to adjourn?
It's been moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.